The objective for this lesson is locating rational numbers on a number line. So fill in your I can statement. I can locate rational numbers on the number line. So before we start, we're going to warm up a little. The first one says to simplify 16 over 6. So simplify means to break it down as much as possible. So we are going to reduce it, and 2 goes into both of these numbers. So we're going to divide the top and bottom by 2.
I'm sorry.
When we do that, we get 8 over 3. This would be simplified. Next, we need to change 6 3/4 to an improper fraction. So we know to do that, we're going to use this method. So we're going to multiply our denominator times the whole number, and then we're going to add the numerator. So 6 times 4 gives us 24. And we're going to add the numerator, which is 3, which gives us 27. So 27 is our new numerator, and our denominator stays the same. So 27 over 4 is our answer. And lastly, we have to find the missing number of these two equivalent fractions. And remember, we know they're equivalent because they're telling us with the equal sign in the middle. So the easiest way to do this is to figure out 4 times what number gives us 32. Well, we know that 4 times 8 is 32. So let's erase this arrow right here. And since 4 times 8 is 32, we have to do times 8 on the bottom as well. And 6 times 8 is 48, which is our missing number. Okay, so on to our notes. For the notes section, we are looking into how to plot or locate whole numbers on our number line, something that you already know how to do. So the first thing we need to recognize is that these numbers are placed in the wrong location. So I'm just going to color those in and move them over as if they were in the proper place to begin with. Okay, so example number 1 says, can you find the missing numbers on this number line? I will give you about 3 seconds to figure out where the numbers on the number line go. Okay. So hopefully you realize that starting with 10, going to 50 with 3 lines in between would give us 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70. On the lines below, explain how you found the missing numbers. Pause the video and restart it again when you're ready to move on. The next question we're asked is the interval on the number line. Interval being, what is the distance between each of the main lines on the number line? The interval for this number line is 10. Now that we've done an example together, you try examples 2 and 3 on your own. Pause the video and replay it when you're ready to move on. Okay, now that you are finished with example 2 and 3, example 2, we know that was easy. It just came out to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and the interval on that number line was 2. But let's look at example 3. They don't give you any numbers on the number line. They just tell you that the interval is 5, and you have to get from 15 to 45. So if we go up by 5s, we would get 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Good. Okay. On the graph below, it says what number belongs on the rightmost tick mark. That's talking about this one here. They don't tell us what the interval is, but we can guess just by the relationship between these numbers that the interval on this number line will be 1. So if we continue going up in that same way, we would get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 15. So each number on the number line shows that the distance between each line is 1. The next section in the packet gives us different intervals, all of them between 0 and 1, which means we're now going to be putting fractions on our number line. So if you look at the first one, the first and only line that they have is halfway between 0 and 1. And we know that that is 1/2. The next one has 2 lines between 0 and 1, which cuts our line into 1, 2, 3 equal parts. So this first line represents 1/3. Second line represents 2/3. Notice that the denominator is the same number as the number of equal parts there are on the number line between 0 and 1. So continue this pattern all the way down to the bottom and pause the video and restart it again when you're ready to move on. You should have begun a pattern that looks kind of like this one, where you have halves on the first line, you have thirds on the second, you have fourths, and then you have fifths, sixths, and so on, all the way down until you get to the tenths. Our next page includes all of the different things that we've been talking about, and now we're going to add in mixed numbers into our number line. So the number lines look a little different than they did on the first 2 pages, mainly because our 0 and 1 are far to the left. We still have 4 more lines that are actually main numbers throughout the number line. So go ahead and fill in those main whole numbers, and then we'll come back and look at the fractions. Pause the video and restart again when you are ready to move on. Okay, so now we have our whole numbers on our number line, and we need to add in our fractions and mixed numbers. So we know that the fractions between 0 and 1 will be regular fractions. There are 3 spaces between our 0 and our 1, which means that the first line will be 1/3, second line will be 2/3. Okay, those are easy. So now looking at the rest of these intervals, between 1 and 2, we have the same 3 equal intervals. And so that's broken into thirds also. However, this line right here does not represent 1/3. It represents 1 whole and 1/3. So we have to remember now we're into mixed numbers. So you take the number right before the tick mark and the fraction that it represents and put those 2 together to get your mixed number. So the second one would be 1 and 2/3. And we're going to continue that the whole way. This tick mark here, we use the 2 right before it, and that tick mark is the first third. The second one is 2 2/3. And we're going to continue that all the way down our number line. Okay, so let's look at the bottom number line. The whole numbers are exactly the same as the top number line. However, on this one we have 1, 2, 3, 4 intervals in between 0 and 1. That tells us that our fractions are going to be fourths. So we have 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. Now, using the knowledge from what we did on the first number line, go ahead and fill in the entire rest of this number line using mixed numbers. Hopefully your number line came out looking a little neater than mine, but hopefully your numbers were the same. You should have had fourths throughout the entire number line, and each line should represent a mixed number that includes 1/4, 2/4, or 3/4. Now you can stop the video and continue on in the same method on your practice homework worksheets.